right off of last week's show, the Gary V discussion, because Gary V himself on Sunday put out a video, put out an article recapping or redoing, I guess, his thoughts on homeownership.
He made it very clear, though. Are we rolling the video? Are we going to roll the video? Maybe we roll the video. There's a video. The
first one?
No, the video.
It's 20 minutes long. No, we're not going to roll that video.
The part of it? That part? Anyway.
Maybe.
Well, maybe we roll it.
We'll definitely link the video up. We'll link the article up.
Because I think
he's adding to his thoughts on homeownership.
Well, he made it very clear, which is exactly what you said in our first episode, is that it was taken way out of context. He was saying that it was exactly what you were saying. He was talking about, which is
there's some wrinkles though, so it's not exactly what I.
It's interesting that he thinks, though, that young 20-year-olds have $300,000 to put down on a house. I was like, I don't even think I have $300,000 to put down on a house now, and I'm almost 40.
Here's where he got a little confused. Yeah, the 20 or 30-year-olds that are in Silicon Valley that are, that he's connected to, that are creating apps, that are making tons of money, maybe, right? Now, where I got a little lost, and we're going to link up the whole article and the whole video. The video, by the way, is him talking to a real estate agent. Doesn't say who, doesn't say where he's from, but this agent wrote Gary an email. Like, a lot of agents just either created a video like us or spouted out on Twitter or whatever.
This guy, I think, went to Agent 2021.
This guy
they referenced that a little bit.
He was a Miami agent. He was from Miami. He went to 2021, and he's buying into Gary's deep dive, which is $10,000. So Gary owed him at least a conversation, I guess. Maybe he doesn't owe him shit, but in his thoughts, he owed him at least a conversation. So they had a 20-minute phone conversation, which the whole video is up on his YouTube channel. We'll link that up. And they obviously recorded it. So that was interesting because it was a good discussion back and forth.
Yeah.
Where Gary lost me and where he loses me a little bit, even in his article that he wrote on his website, which we'll also link up, is that there is these 20 to 40-year-olds with the 200,000 because we had a conversation on my podcast with Brian Fay, who's a loan officer, that if you've got 200,000, just do an FHA loan and do 3.5%. And so then you're like, okay, well, yeah, 3.5% on a $300,000 home, you're paying $10,000 to $15,000 down. So that's not a big chunk of your 200,000.
Right.
Where I agree with Gary is if you're a 20-year-old and you've got 20,000 and now you're sucking up 15,000 of that 20,000 that you have away from your business,
right?
And you're running a business, you can't do both. Is the point?
Yeah.
You need capital to run business. You got to be able to pay people. You got to be able to run ads. And so if you're tying that up when you could be renting, but you're just choosing to own because you want to own or whatever your reason is, you're hurting your business.
Right. Yes.
And so I agree with him there. Now, he gets into a lot of different things, even on his article. He starts talking about how student loans are going to tear down the economy. To me, that's a whole different issue on whether you should buy a house or not.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, in all honesty, I think the problem that we're finding, though, is that people actually can't buy a house, even if they want to, because of their student loans. So 100%, that's a totally different argument.
Here's something he's absolutely right about. People can live in fancier places if they rent. 100%. You can rent something in a better location that's fancier than if you were to put down a bunch of capital and buy it and then put in the money to maintain it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like think about where we are, Connecticut shoreline. If you're going to buy a waterfront home, that's more expensive to maintain.
Right. Well,
but
anything in the Northeast is more expensive to maintain because it's at least all 40, 50 years old anyway. So you're going to be dumping a ton of money into it anyway. But it's still all very interesting because again, I think where I have the hardest time with it is his wording because he's talking about the American dream, and I still think that regardless, I mean, obviously you're renting, right?
I am,
and you're dumping your money into your business,
correct?
But I still think that that doesn't mean that that's...
I'm renting a fancier place than what I would probably get if I bought.
Right. So all of those things are check. But in terms of like I'm certain that you still have the American dream idea in your mind. Like eventually you do want to buy.
Well, what Gary's saying here, which I agree with, is that if you run your business right and you now have this capital to invest in ads or employees or whatever, you're going to now compound over, say, 5 years. The amount of money that you would have been able to make because you have more to invest in it, it's going to compound quicker. And so you could say and he's talking about 20 to 40-year-olds, so whatever, maybe you're doing this at 30, so that at 35, 40, you can now buy a home that's 4 times the value of the one you would have bought.
So go back up. The topic there is why the American dream is vulnerable. I don't think that the American dream is vulnerable because he's still saying that when you're 50, you're going to buy the home. That's
you're
the
saying
American dream.
The dream is still there.
The American dream is still there.
But for these entrepreneurs that maybe they're pushing the dream back.
This is just how you get to the American dream. If you want a bigger, better, faster American,
rent maybe for 5 years.
Yes.
And here's
the American dream doesn't have to happen right out of college or right out of high school, right when you get married and right when you have a kid. No. But I mean, I think that's where I hiccup the most is because he's using this word, the American dream, but he's still advocating for the American dream. And I think that that's also where the agents sort of had the biggest problem is because we are selling the American dream. And again, he's still saying that people want the American dream. So I think it's the fact that he used American dream instead of like buying a home in your 20s. I mean, obviously it was great marketing. I mean, he's not an idiot. He knows what he's doing.
And being nimble and being able to jump in and out of rents and maybe move locations more often is not going to be for everybody. I don't care.
No, but you still have a dream. You still have a dream of owning a home. You have a dream of actually owning a flipping airplane. I have
a dream of owning an airplane. Yes. That is my American dream.
So your American dream hasn't changed. Yeah. You still have that dream.
Yes.
Well, it's just not happening now.
Yeah, I mean,
you're working towards
my dream is to have not only one home but 2 homes. I want a home in Naples, Florida, and I want a house in Connecticut. Right. So
you want to own that down there? You want to own the second?
Yeah, I definitely want to own the house in Florida. Maybe I don't own the house in Connecticut, but I definitely want 2 homes, right? That is definitely 100% a dream of mine. I believe I get there faster.
And that's the American dream.
By taking a little bit of this Gary V approach.
Yeah, so I don't.
And investing into my business. Now, what to wrap this whole thing up, what's most important is what we said in the beginning, which is context, which is why I gave Gary V a freebie when the snippet first came out is, okay, what's the context there? He's probably talking entrepreneurs. It's the context of each individual because this is such an individual decision. If you're a military person and you're going to buy somewhere and you're only going to be somewhere for 3 years, you're located somewhere for 3 years, that's a conversation as real estate professionals that you and I are going to have with that person of, hey, we don't know what the market's going to look like in 3 years. You're going to pay realtor fees. It may be better for you to rent. We're going to have that conversation.
As long as you can find something to rent.
As long as you can find something to rent.
I mean, that's an issue too. I mean, if you've got 4 kids, and
there you go. And then
you can't just buy an apartment above like Walmart.
And then the Navy person says, well, I've got 4 kids. Listen, my wife's she's got to deal with this crap.
Yeah. And
we want to own our home. So then you go find them a home.
Right.
But you do make it clear as professionals.
Right.
The downside to owning for only 3 years. Market goes down and you got to pay realtor fees. You could swallow a lot of your equity by putting in a big down payment. So 100% it's context to the individual's needs.
I just think that the American dream is still well and alive, and I think he's just putting a spin on that, and I don't like it.
Nicole's not giving up her dreams.
No, I mean, well, it's interesting though because we did have a conversation in a podcast that you did for yourself, and we also talked
the Byron Lazine podcast, which everybody should be following.
Because I mean, again, this is totally unrelated to because I don't think cars are ever a good investment. But we then started getting to the discussion of, do you lease or do you own your car?
And I lease. I 100% believe in leasing.
Yeah. So at least you were sort of like consistent, but other people at the table were like, no, like I buy my car. I'm like, you're buying a car, but like you're renting a house.
Right.
Like it was all.
It's a depreciating asset. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.